Welcome to Manga's Seal YouTube channel. The previous video link is on the description box or on the top right card. Volume 13, The Paladin of the Holy Kingdom. The three people other than Remedios looked at each other. Do you have a single fact to back that up, Captain Dono? Ciliaco looked coolly at Remedios. If one looked calmly at what she had done until now, she was clearly saying that because she hated the Sorcerer King and wanted to bring him down. Now was not the time to let one's personal preferences dictate one's decisions. Isn't he the only one gaining from this? Both the demi-humans and the people of the Holy Kingdom are dead. He, the Sorcerer Kingdom, is wearing away at our fighting strength in order to someday take control of the nation and the hills. That's why he came here. I see. That certainly makes sense from the perspective of profit. What do the two of you think? Gustav furrowed his brows as he answered Caspin's question. The Sorcerer King came here because we asked him. Also, was it not the captain's suggestion to have the two of them fight? Indeed it was. That massive lich in Blue Rose is also one of them. If not for what she said, we would never have gone to the Sorcerer Kingdom. If not for that suggestion, we would have gone to the Empire or the Theocracy. And who knows, he might have come anyway, even if we didn't say anything. Ha, Caspin sighed deeply. Captain Custodio, your logic has been nothing but self-serving from the start. You're simply twisting the facts to match what you're saying. I recall the Sorcerer King saying he wanted the maid demons, am I wrong? Please forgive me for saying these things which are unbecoming of a priest. I hear that those maid demons are quite powerful. In that case, I can understand why the Sorcerer King would like to obtain them. Demons do not need to eat or drink, and they do not have a maximum lifespan. Being able to dominate such powerful demons might be better than gaining an army. In that case, it would mean the Sorcerer King is aiding our nation because he felt there was sufficient value in it. It is only common sense for a king who rules a nation. Still, nobody's seen those maid demons before, right? As Remedios screamed while in the grip of her emotions, Caspin looked at her like she was a pitiful, sad child. Captain Custodio, I would like to have a reasoned conversation with you, and not an emotional one, but it seems you are tired. Go and rest. That is an order. The red-faced Remedios still looked like she wanted to shriek something else, but Caspin was a step ahead of her and continued speaking. Go visit the wounded men. That's part of your duties as a field commander, am I wrong? I understand. Remedios picked up her helmet and left the room. There was no way to describe how the air in the room relaxed after that. It felt like the sense of fatigue one would have after a storm had passed, and all the pieces had been picked up, mixed with a sense of relief at the fact that one had managed to survive. However, one man was not finished yet. Your Highness, I sincerely apologize for Captain Custodio's actions. Caspin smiled bitterly to Gustav as the latter bowed his head. It must have been really hard on you too. However, could you think about the future too? I honestly have no idea what's going to become of this country after this war is over. If only we could find my sister, the Holy Queen. What happened to the Holy Queen during the Battle of Kalincha? Did you hear anything from Captain Custodio? Gustav was Remedios' personal assistant. Therefore, he would have been present when Remedios told Caspin about it. The fact that he knew but was asking again proved one thing: the prince suspected that Remedios might have been lying to him. My prince, I heard the same thing from Captain Custodio that she told your highness when we met for the first time. She had been sent flying by a shockwave, and when she came to, the Holy Queen and her sister Calar Custodio were nowhere to be seen. Although there were corpses of paladins and adventurers and priests everywhere, the bodies of those two were nowhere to be found. Is that so? Maybe I was worrying too much. Captain Custodio does not seem like one of those people who say one thing and mean another. It would be better if they were captured by him. If they were killed, the matter of the succession would become very complicated. Startled, Ciliaco asked him a question. Caspin Sama, are you tired of the position of Holy King? Are you flattering me? In truth, that might be the case if my sister had perished of an accident under normal circumstances. However, things are different now. The North is tired and the South still has the ability to fight. In that case, it's very likely that the South might support someone else to be Holy King. Frankly speaking, it's very likely that one of the great nobles from the South might end up as Holy King. What? Caspin smiled as he looked at Ciliaco's shocked face. I don't think that should come as such a surprise. In that case, with regard to what Vice Captain Montaigne said earlier, if things go well, the first thing the southern nobles will do is request that Captain Custodio take responsibility for the whole affair and place her under house arrest. Why would they do that? Then I'll ask you, Vice Captain Montaigne, why would they not do that? Is a paladin who failed to protect Her Majesty not the perfect outlet for their unhappiness? And of course, that's not the only reason either. She can beat an army single-handedly. In that case, surely defending your enemy is a basic tactic in warfare, am I wrong? The enemy? Who's the enemy? The enemies of the southern nobles. In other words, the Holy Queen's faction. Remedios Custodio was a confidant of the Holy Queen. Surely the paladin she leads would also be seen as the enemy, am I wrong? In that case, what about the priests that colored Custodio Sama led? Well, there are priests who climbed the ranks thanks to their connections with the southern nobles. Don't you think that would be the case too? Priestly magic is indispensable in everyday life. Well, I feel that anyone knows how stupid it is to put someone incompetent in high office. People sometimes do things that can only be described as foolish by others. My prince, what should we do? Vice Captain Ainz, what do you mean by that? Do you want to keep her from being placed under house arrest? Or do you want to keep the paladins from getting involved? I want a better future for the Holy Kingdom. We need to find my sister. Then, we need an achievement that all the people will accept as having saved the nation. For instance, by driving out the enemy without having to draw on the strength of the South. That's impossible. We can't possibly win without the Sorcerer King's power. Caspian looked at Gustav, who was complaining unconsciously, and shrugged. Still, that has to be done. Otherwise there won't be any way to stop the pressure from the South after we win. Yes, or we could damage the South as badly as the North. All that matters is that the balance of power is preserved in the end. Caspian looked up at the ceiling. If only we'd made a deal with the South sooner. She was too kind for her own good. And I understand how all this might have struck a nerve with Captain Custodio. After all, the only one who looked good in this battle was the Sorcerer King. If things go badly, the Sorcerer King might end up becoming the Holy King as well, am I wrong? The other two felt it was impossible, but neither of them could deny it. In that case, we need to start thinking about our plans from now on. Well, I would like Captain Custodio to be here. Will she disobey a direct order? I feel it would be fine as long as it's in keeping with this country's justice. I see. I've been thinking about how to attack the prison camps. The reason for that is... Caspian began to explain. Roughly 100,000 demi-humans had attacked the nation. Since they had not heard of any movements from the demi-humans squaring off against the forces of the Southern Holy Kingdom, they estimated that the 40,000 demi-humans that had attacked them this time round were a large portion of the forces assigned to manage the prison camps in the north. I agree with your opinion. By attacking the undermanned prison camps, we can both destroy them piecemeal and increase our own forces at the same time. I feel it will kill two birds with one stone. Captain Ainz, I am glad to hear you approve. How about yourself, Priest Laranjo? Ciliaco also agreed with Caspian's suggestion. The Sorcerer King is in this city. Since he can keep us safe, I would like the paladins to attack the prison camps. Can you do that? Also, one more thing. I would like Captain Remedios to stay here while you are launching the attack. Make her think that she's in charge of bodyguarding me. Thank you very much, my prince. I don't think I've said anything you need to thank me for, Vice Captain Ainz, Caspian said as the smile slid from his face. The absence of the country's strongest paladin means that if there's someone like the Grand King at the prison camp you're attacking, you might all be wiped out, am I wrong? Can we decide which camp to attack? But of course, I'll leave it to you. There's no need to force yourself to attack a large camp that's more dangerous. Understood. In that case, I feel only we should go. Captain Ainz, may several of our battle-capable priests go with you? Certainly. Then we'll set out in a couple of days' time. Ainz used greater teleportation to reach his destination, which was in front of the log cabin on the surface of Nazark. Albedo, Demiurge, and Lupusargina were all standing there already, although he did not know how long they had been waiting. Albedo and Demiurge had been summoned by Ainz, while Lupusargina must have been the one on duty in the cabin. Since Lupusargina was in charge of all matters concerning Karn village, she shall have been excused from the log cabin's duty roster, but that was not set in stone. Perhaps someone else was on duty, but they had not been able to make it, so Lupusargina had rushed over instead. That would be wonderful if it were the case. After all, that would imply that even if there was a lack of manpower for a shift after completing a mission, there was a system to immediately swap someone else in to make up the shortfall. While the Pleiades each had completely different job abilities, their maid skills were all equal. It only made sense that they could substitute for each other in a professional capacity. However, in contrast to that, there were also personnel who were hard to replace. Starting with the Floor Guardians and the Guardian Overseer, there were some NPCs with highly specialized abilities who might need someone to take over them for one reason or another. This was especially true because Ainz had been working hard towards establishing a vacation system. After all, letting Pandora's actor substitute for all of them is also dangerous. To take an extreme case, what if Ainz himself was not around? For instance, if he were imprisoned, or if he were charmed, or something else. Well, he did not think that everything would break down without him there to make decisions. He had the feeling that Albedo and Demiurge would both say, Ainz Sama would never let that happen to himself, and thus not plan for unforeseen circumstances. I need to seriously assess the need for this, and quickly. In a grave tone, Ainz bade the three people bound to him to raise their heads. It has been a while, Demiurge. Yes. In truth, Ainz agonized over the Holy Kingdom's affairs every day, and he also thought about Demiurge every day, so it did not actually feel that way. However, it had been quite a long time since they had last met in person. Now then, you probably have questions about why I acted as I did. Well, I would like to answer you. Speaking in this place is not quite appropriate. Let us go somewhere else. Ainz was the first to enter the log cabin. He could have come here straight away because there was a mirror gate set up, but he did not use it today. There was a table in the center of the room, and there were 2 chairs facing each other on either side of it. Ainz took the seat of honor with familiarity and without hesitation. He had already experienced the problems which came of not doing so many times already. While he had once needed to ponder which was the top seat before sitting down, he had now reached the point where he could unconsciously take the seat of honor. As he approached the chair, Regina immediately pulled it out for him. In truth, he was of the opinion that he ought to pull his chair out himself. However, his observations of Jerknov had made him understand that it was very important for a ruler to let his subordinates do work. Still, letting them handle even trivial tasks like this gave Ainz the commoner a bit of difficulty. After Ainz sat down, Albedo and Demiurge did not take a seat, but instead knelt on the floor. Behind them, Regina went to her knees as well. I permit the 2 of you to sit down. The 2 guardians politely refused in unison. Ainz once again granted his permission to the 2 guardians, whereupon they finally sat opposite Ainz after a great deal of thanks and gratitude. Regina, on the other hand, stood stock still behind the 2 of them. This takes so long and it's a waste of time. Couldn't it be simpler like, ugh. Then let us continue our previous topic. Well, I said there was nobody who needed to be saved. I rescued the people of the Holy Kingdom nonetheless. I am sure you have your questions about that, do you not? No, not at all. Eh? Well, why? Demiurge shook his head gently, unable to resist the urge to sigh in admiration. Everything you do is correct, Ainz-sama. I feel that the reason why you did so was because you saw that it held merits which I could not imagine. That is correct. If you feel it needs to be done, then it must be correct, Ainz-sama. Eh? Albedo's words froze Ainz's facial expression solid. But of course, Ainz had no facial expressions to speak of.